Hello and welcome to session 5 of Legacy Life Among the Ruins. We did a Turning of the Age last time. We also got a Wonder on the table last time, and we zoomed in to some quick character actions last time. In the course of that, the Mystified, a ship from the Dancing Wave, was destroyed. We also got our first glimpse of the primordial concurrence on the table, so there were several things that occurred during that. Now, because we did it as a zoom in, we will be zooming out, which means that Alan and David will have the chance to make picks for their character with the zoom out move here. Just as a quick note, this is part of the Gauntlet Hangouts. You can find out more about the Gauntlet at gauntlet-rpg.com. So let me grab this zoom out notes here. When we zoom out, you've got a choice of several options for your characters there, for your families. You can mark a new role. You can go scavenging and add a tech to your stock. You can scout for information, describe a lead that might give you a new surplus or remove a need, and you get a data. You helped another family or faction out, you gain a treaty on them. Or you discovered a new danger, describe it and say what other family or faction it's threatening. So let's start with Quartz, with the Sky Children. And the marking a role is the way that you get advances. Obviously, don't forget when you've marked your 4th role, that's when your character retires.
Okay, I think that the Sky Children helped out. I think they might have helped out the Seeds of Sunset. I think probably around the city, around the development of the cathedral in the city. And I think the cathedral is beginning to act as a focus for stability in this growing settlement, if that's okay with the Seeds.
So you would take another treaty on the Seeds.
Thank you.
And then, David, what about for Dew on Meadows?
Yeah, I think that I am going to discover what's the sheet I was reading from? I think that I'm going to I think I've been scouting for information. I think specifically on I assume this is okay. Rather than specifically a need or a surplus, it's going to be a lead on the tome I'm searching for that might help us with our engineering projects. And I think I've discovered that tome I'm looking for is held within the I keep forgetting what it's called. The Sun
Project Sunbeam?
Project Sunbeam, that's it.
Okay. That makes sense. We've gotten some things that have revolved around that previously. And you'll take 1 data.
Yep. And I will gain a point of wisdom as well, and I will reveal another piece of information about this specific book. And I think it's the I've actually discovered the title of the book now, which is the I had the word I was looking for in my head, and it has completely gone. It is just called. The archive transcripts of the International Renewable Engineering Commission. Very dry and
do they simply refer to it as the archive transcripts then?
Yep, that sounds good.
Excellent. So with that in mind, we are going to zoom in, because I believe that Dew on Meadows, accompanied by Quartz, is going to be heading into the dead mire in an attempt to find a solution to that problem. And I believe that is where we are taking up. And as such, I believe that our other two players will be making up quick characters from the river folk. So you go to David's tab, and you can make your quick characters there. The river folk, I've got their moves in there, and they add +1 to either steel or force. And then the other thing that we're going to do for Quartz and Dew on Meadows is you'll have the opportunity to tool up. And to remind you, when you tool up, you count however many surpluses you have. And for each one, you can add something. Each one you can add a Scout Report's worth of data. That's a useful one. You can add one quality to a set of followers if you have followers as one of your equipment choices. You can get multiple copies of a weapon, outfit, or vehicle to outfit a whole party, or you can add a tag to a particular piece of gear for yourself for the mission.
The choir, the children have an interesting one, in as much as every time you tool up, you can recover one of the small. Well, I've interpreted this.
Sure.
One of the small shards that flaked off the sanctuary and it crashed, and that makes it a relic. So what I've done is I've upgraded my How Do You Fight a Sacred Blade Melee Elegant to include Terrible Swift Sword of Decision with the relic properties non-lethal and hidden.
Okay. And what does that look like? It's hidden?
I think in my mind's eye, most of what the inverted commas weapons that the children use are really extensions of the force of the bits of the presence that remain inside them and in the shard. So in the same way that, experimental energy projector, several chunks of scavenged technology, i.e. shards, are wired into the suit. And similarly, how you defended, we have a regal mantle, which in the narrative so far can be kind of unleashed from under the cloak. So I think they're probably non-visible until applied.
Okay.
Quite what would happen if someone stole Quartz's, overmantle, I don't know.
That is a good question. And you don't have any surpluses right now, do you?
Well, when you were talking about surpluses, I thought, one day.
One day. Okay.
But I am going to mark agent because I see this as lending aid to the disaster of the plague that came out of that morass.
That's perfect.
Yeah. The GM will tell you what threat now looms over them. So I guess it's whether this is an ongoing pool of infection or whether it's not. I don't know. You tell me.
I think you have seen the signs that what is going on in the dead mire is not just some small, weird, monstrous, the zombies, that there's something more, and there's definitely a purpose and an intelligence behind it. And whether you've told that to Dew on Meadows is another question.
Oh, I think so, because I went to Dew with a concern and sought guidance, and Dew agreed that this was a threat worth addressing. So I don't think that the children are in the business of or at least the truly heavenly aspect. I mean, who knows what the priests do? But we tend not to tell those lies, I think.
Fair enough. And David, anything I should know about your tooling up? You've got a lot of surpluses.
I do, yes. So I've the main one that I think is going to be of note is that I'm going to cash in my artisans and barter goods to have had a knowing that we're sort of going into this dangerous terrain, the usual kind of lightweight grappling rig that the river folk tend to use has been basically he's got like a hazmat suit that he's wearing with it. So I've given it the sealed and tough tags, as those seemed appropriate given what we're heading into. I'm also probably going to cash in my surplus of weaponry to take some form of weapon along with me.
Okay.
I will.
Yeah, and I don't think. Yeah, and you have a surplus of it, so certainly you can define a good basic weapon that you might have there. Let me ask you one question. We know that it's quartz. We know that it's dew that's going. Are you have fisher folk as essentially followers? Are you taking them with you, David?
Probably not. No.
So it'll be just the four of you heading into this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I will be taking our transportation with us. I will be taking some boats. I think that will be the Swan Song again, which is a fast boat.
All right. So with that in mind, let's hear about our quick characters. So first, let me hear about Cold as Crystal.
Yeah, Cold as Crystal is a peer of Dion Meadows. I think she is as advertised by that name. Written on her look as humorless eyes, thin mouth, bald, practical. She's an agent for the river folk. She's an expert at tracking. So she's good at navigating the rivers and finding out where people have gone and went through. And the inherited move it took for her is entangling nets. So she's going to have nets of some sort. If you get your nets around someone, everyone else has advantage when assaulting or escaping them. Should be useful because I saw that Riverfolk didn't choose how they fight. Okay, cool. So we zoom around a lot. So hopefully all this grappling stuff.
I assume you've got some basic weapons, just nothing fancy.
Cold has a good right kick and a mean left hook. When you grapple, you get a lot of momentum.
Fair enough. And then let's hear about Eddie's under root.
Okay, Eddie's under root is Dew's aunt, who is a rebel and has not been part of the main contingency of Riverfolk for a very long time, but I think has reached out to Dew and has seen some of Dew's new thinking, and so they have been in contact, and she has been out in the wild for many years, knows her way around very well. She has deep eyes, a smiling mouth, long stringy hair with feathers and beads kind of woven through it, and then just very practical, expedition gear, probably one of their blow guns or their spear guns. I took the call of the deep move, so if I'm near a large body of water, I can summon a beast from its depths, and it'll arrive within a few hours and rampage heedless of my wishes. So that should be fun.
Great. Don't forget to add 1 to either your steel or your force.
Oh,
So you're Dewan Meadows' aunt. Does that mean you're the mother to his sort of more aggressive cousin who we've seen on screen before a couple of times?
Sure, yeah. What was their name again?
Wave/Shore, I think.
Wave/Shore, yeah.
They've been involved in some of the fighting that has gone on, some of it that has not gone as well as people would have liked. So we're going to start with the group heading from the Great Lake in the north, probably departing from the Obsidian Archipelago, and then heading downriver. Let me ask this. What is the typical approach that your people use with Destiny's Rainbow? Do you ride it out, or do you portage, take the boat up and out of the water and carry it overland, Fitzcarraldo style? What do you think?
I think that we try and avoid it when possible. Whether we can kind of just take like alternate smaller waterways to kind of skirt around it, or like I said, in extremis, if it's just kind of someone going sort of more of like a kind of a sort of like dinghy type boat or something, then we might take it across land. I think in this instance, because we're kind of trying to get there, I mean, relatively in a hurry, and we're also going kind of equipped.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're just going to have to try and tough it out and get through there.
Then I think one of you, whoever is kind of guiding the ship, whoever is leading things, needs to do a wasteland survival roll.
Where's our steel best located?
Well, Cold has a lot of steel, but this is me rolling.
So that balances out.
It balances out, yeah.
Well, Cold's it then.
Leandro, please roll with your steel.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's a 9.
That is a 9.
It's not so bad.
So on a hit, pick one.
I think probably an obstacle or threat.
Okay.
Is blocking your way back.
Yeah, I think that you will move through this. And tell me, David, what is the visible manifestations of this rainbow when you're inside of it?
So yeah, I think, and just clarifying here, it was Rai, wasn't it? I think you introduced it. It's basically kind of like almost like a storm where the laws of physics are mutable and strange. Is that right?
Yeah, and there's like magical energies, and I think like weird technologies, and you go in at your own risk.
Can I add that I think the powers of the children are somehow constrained by the swirl of energies in there.
That seems fair. So right now, what is the visible manifestation, David, that you're seeing of it?
So I think there's lots of kind of just odd, odd like misty, colorful light effects and stuff around us, and there's clearly that's partly how it got its name. It's just things like the light in here is always odd, and sort of lots of different colored lights and stuff flashing through. But I think the thing that we have to contend with most is that gravity and the flow of water don't behave exactly as they should. And it's that thing, it's almost like we're on like a like going like down a water flume or something like that, except that the water is just kind of like you know, just floating up of its own accord and twisting off. And
I imagine it's flat. You know, the gravity shifts. At some points, you probably the water is up out of the river itself, and you're kind of on that. Rye, what is the visible sign that tells you that we know that the cloud has some purpose? We know it has some at least reactive force. What is the sign that you will note that tells you that this ship that you're in, the Swan, has been noticed and marked by the cloud?
I think there's I mentioned before that there's like a lot of small nanobots in here as well, like running around doing weird things. And I think one of the things that they do is they'll like build replicas of things, but like synthetic versions of them. And so I think that what we see is a very similar ship is kind of constructed halfway and then deconstructed, then reconstructed, but it's kind of through the fog, so we can't really tell if it's there or not.
But you know, I mean, and you pick up speed as much as you can because you know that it's like trying to, you don't know if it's trying to sense you, to capture you, to mark you exactly, and you will rush through that, and you know you do not want to come back this way. That by the time you come back, it will have put something together. And you will get through that, and you will continue down river, and we get to that point where the river splits. The largest branch of the river heading south to the other Great Lake, one heading to the west to the, I'm not even trying to pronounce that, library, and one heading the sort of the very mucky water that is heading there to the east to the Dead Mire. We know that we've had attacks up and along the river, even up toward, you know, past the rainbow up to the Obsidian Archipelago of these undead. So there's been some threats there. But let me ask you, Alan, what kind of settlement is there at this break, this crossroads of these rivers?
I would imagine a quite significant settlement, because Destiny's Rainbow interrupts trade. I think most heavy trade is portaged to here, and it's a logical place for an intersection, a trading settlement. And I've just realised that I took, as you know, because I get an Ages Firebrand move, and I took Secret Army. Few days training rebels. If you don't have any followers, gain followers 1 quality with 1 speciality. I think that there may well be in this settlement some followers of the presence who have been drawn here, who knows why, to join this crusade. So I'd like to add followers, crusaders, 1 quality, and I think probably spying.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds good. And it makes sense given the split that's happening amongst your family. So are these people from the children? Are the other people that have joined with the children?
I think that they are human and you know, dancing wave followers of the presence. So these are, inverted commas, mortals.
So they have outfits that look a little bit like the children that they've kind of put together, but they're not the same.
No.
They're more in homage to them.
I mean, rather like you initially described the crater people. You know, that's become the way that you indicate your your belief.
So we'll call this settlement split, just for simplicity purposes. You can stop here. People are a little surprised to see a significant river folk boat coming down from the north by water, but they will check you out. You can see that where the river cuts off towards the east, that they've built like some defenses, some waterway blocks and things like that. They've got, the basic kind of crossbows, maybe a few black powder weapon kind of positions, and definitely they have watchtowers set up. And you can see in some spots where clearly they've suffered a couple of attacks recently, where some buildings are torn down, where there've been some fires and that kind of thing. And they do, like when you arrive, they do check you out. Like they want to be certain who you are. Is there anything you want to do here before you take the plunge, as it were, and head east?
Preach.
You want to preach?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's never a bad time to introduce people to the joy of the presence, and look for that which is holy. So I think this is probably what you're talking about. Diffuse, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that probably, much as I hate to do it, I think preaching is probably sway. Because we've tried preaching with force, and doctrine is suggesting it is less than always effective.
It has mixed results.
No, it's had terrible results.
That's true.
In fact. So 2 dice minus 1. That's still a 7. So on a 7. Okay, I think that probably they believe that we are on a holy mission, but I think they're insufficiently convinced. So my guess is that any nervousness or suspicions they have by this incursion will return soon.
You suspect, just from talking to people, that they're okay with you heading, if you want to make that choice and head east of the crusade, but you have the sense that when you come back this way, if you come back and survive and come back this way, they will be deeply suspicious, because that place is so dangerous and contaminated and so on. What about you do? Anything you want to do here?
Yeah, I think I'm going to check in with some of the locals and see if I can find someone who knows a bit more about sort of what's been going on here. So I think that's probably I'm probably going to go for the what's it called?
Familiar face.
Familiar face. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's have you roll with sway.
That's a 3.
That is a 3. So,
what I might do actually,
yes,
because I always forget about it, because I always get the two of them confused.
This is the one you can do afterwards. Yes,
exactly. I might call for aid from. I'm going to say it's probably going to be from my aunt, from Eddie's. Eddie's under roots to assist me with this, because she's more well-traveled than me. So she's.
So Eddie's, would you help do? He's young, inexperienced. Would you help him find informants here?
Certainly.
So
my young nephew. That's a roll plus
sway.
Roll plus sway. Okay. 7.
7. So that will go up by 1. So what are the two things you want to pick on familiar face then? Do And Eddie's?
I'm going to pick that they're already interested in our current predicament, because it seems quite like, in the sense of they're already interested in the drowned, because that seems quite likely. And do you want to pick the other?
So if we don't pick one, then that's happening. Is that how this goes?
That is correct.
Okay.
Like they're not tied up in their own crisis. If you don't pick that, then they
can't help us that much. Yeah. That's the one I'll take then. They're
Okay.
not tied up in their own crisis.
So you do talk to a woman named Chai Wei, and she's worked with the river folk before, and she will tell you she doesn't have that much pull here, but she's willing to give you information with some promises, that if she comes up to the big city, that you're going to help her out, get her set up, that kind of thing. She will say the attacks were irregular at first, and wild, scattered along the river. We know that they moved along the water itself, past our settlements into the other areas. But of late, of the last month and a half, they seem more organized. And this last attack that actually struck the town, struck Split, was clearly to disable and dismantle our defenses. Like, they went for the walls, they went for the barricades. We had stronger defenses than we have now. They burnt the barracks, and they are relentless and hard to put down. You have to chop their legs. You need to stop them from moving. You need to do that, or else they'll keep coming for you.
Can we just to make sure? So these are zombie-like.
They were people. They were bodies.
Presumably people who lived in or around the Maya. That's where the starting infection is.
She says, I don't know. The bodies are bloated. Bodies are and she looks at you, and Eddie's, and says, you know what a body looks like after it's been in the water for a while.
Yes. And it certainly sounds like either they are evolving some sort of intelligence, or something has found a way to take control of them, either of which is a distressing thought.
Could I unearth forgotten lore? Because I'm
Sure.
just wondering because the Crusaders have been drawn here or come out of Split for a reason. So there must be some intelligence on this. So my law is 1.
Let's have you roll.
Well, that's 11.
You get a data,
Okay.
and you get to ask 3.
Oh, hang on. I've just tried to add 1 data, and my data maxes out at 2. Can I just type a 3 into
yeah,
that
you
cell?
just type a 3 in there. That was one of those
Okay, so
copy and paste.
Where is it drawing power from? What I want to get is some sense of, does anybody have any idea if there is a hub to this infection? We know it's in the mire somewhere, and
They'll say it has to be the mire. What we do know from talking with people about attacks and things like that is the further out it gets away from the mire, the less organized, the less smart, the less potent these things get. They're old. The city is half submerged, we never went there because the whole place itself is poisonous. But there are buildings that are, you can see at a distance, that are intact or semi-intact. Not everything is under the waters.
Okay. Second question: apart from these zombie plague carriers, what dangers does the Maya hide?
The zombies are obviously, a direct physical threat, but you will know that people have not gone to the mire because it has areas that bubble up with very toxic chemicals and fumes and that kind of thing. And that's what's kept people away. Is scavengers will usually go places that have ruins and things, but their pockets that vary. So you might have like a pocket of gas just burst up and release like a sulfuric cloud, or even more caustic and dangerous.
Last question then: how could we turn those conditions to our advantage in trying to reach the center of the Maya? Because I'm fairly confident this is a horror.
Yeah, conceivably, some of those chemicals, from what you've heard, are flammable, and potentially that is a good way to create barricades, create barriers, to perhaps even create distractions. That flammability, even on, this stuff, even if it's sitting on the surface of the water, it's still flammable.
That's very helpful.
And then let me ask what Coldest Crystal is up to in the settlement while all of this is going on. What do we see of them?
I think she's actually been out on the edges of the settlement. She's looking out for where the drowned could be coming from, like where these attacks have been happening. It's the easiest to like trace back their tracks.
I think that you will kind of walk and track along, and you can see the telltale signs of the attack, and you will note that there are some like the marks of the attack, but then there are also marks like there were some other of these creatures that didn't come up for the attack and were like maybe 50, 60 yards back in a position watching, standing there. And you can find a couple of points of that where there were creatures that didn't attack, but were clearly observers of some kind.
I couldn't tell if they were different from the drowned, right?
I think you can tell. Oh, you're a tracker, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've seen the wet, squishy footprints of the drowned. These are slightly more intact, like they're less decayed creatures. They still look like they're of the same substance, but they're not nearly as far gone.
Oh, lovely. I think, not sure if Cold waits for them to like go out to meet her. She'll go to them. Then
okay.
Jackass. I think she'll just say like, we have a variable. Drowned tracks aren't uniform. Some of them more solid than others. Makes things uncertain.
That's not good to hear, but I suppose we should have expected it. And he's going to turn to Court and say, I have also heard there is a tome that might deal with some of what's been going on here by the it was there was a seeds. A member of the seeds, a microbiologist by the name of Belladonna, who had been investigating waterborne illnesses in general, but I know no more than that. If we could find any of their writings, it might help us. But I think in the intervening time, there's little for it but to head into the mire and see what we can find.
I concur, Dew of the River Folk. We should make good speed to the mire and identify the source of the infection.
And yes,
No. I've traveled these parts a few times and I've seen a few drowned, and honestly, I think we should all have some sort of backup plan to at least get information out if we go in here. So I think it would be wise of us to maybe talk with these folk a bit more here and see if they can provide a two-way radio or something of that sort so that we can let people know what we find.
That's a good plan.
that's the kind of thing that will come dear. So let's have somebody roll sway for find common ground.
Do you think that gambling is against the code of our people?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if it would be against the code of our people, but I think it's something that's maybe frowned on. I think that it's seen as a as wasteful, essentially. If it just doesn't quite intersect well with the river folk concepts of value, because if something isn't valuable, then why do you have it? And yeah. So I think, yeah, maybe possibly not like a.
But I think it applies for the rebel move. I think that
Yeah,
works
definitely.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is my pitch. Well, is
Sure.
Eddie's is going to go down to kind of the dock area and find a bar where she sees that they have something like this and engage in a game of gambling, maybe cards or dice or something with the
Which
owner
is
of
it?
that.
Is it cards? Is it dice? Is it token throwing?
I think it's got to
thing?
be dice, or cards are going to get too wet
Yeah.
around the water and always be ruined. So I think it has to be dice or dominoes or something like that.
Yeah.
Something hard.
They've got like a complicated dice thing. It's polyhedrons, of course, and of different colors, and yeah. So you're gonna throw with them and try and.
And I think my collateral is my armor.
Okay, let's have you roll with steel.
Okay. Seven, steel is 1-8.
So I think you won't necessarily make an extra impression,
Okay.
But you will certainly get these people, prepped for the others to make a pitch. And what is it about seeing your aunt do this that impresses you?
I think it's the fact that she was willing to sacrifice something that she needs to survive, in order to see this, or at least in order to survive on this mission, to see the mission succeed, and that sort of putting her own life on the line, is by proxy, it impresses him.
Absolutely. And let's say, yeah, somebody will say, yeah, we can. It's not a good radio, but we'll give you a radio, and the battery on it's not going to last too long, so make good use of it. But that if something goes wrong, you can give us a squawk, and we will tell people of your legendary deaths.
Thank you. That will make it all worthwhile.
So graceful of you, seeing as how we will be providing you with useful tactical information should these creatures come at you again. But thank you. Yes.
They say yes, or several new warm bodies to throw at us.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And so we will see the group sail down that eastern river. It is mucky. Algae. There's white kind of foamy bits on it. You're not certain what that's about. Sometimes you hit against what appears to be, just kind of like a set of algae, and it's actually hard. You have to kind of push past it where it's kind of encrusted on that. You have to find your way as much as you can towards the middle where the current is fastest. And there probably are a couple places where you do have to stop and kind of push the boat over some shallows. And you were all glad for the river folk outfits for the sealed suits and so on, because everything here is wild and dangerous.
I think the Crusaders are probably sheltering in my mantle.
They are maybe less certain than they were at first about this task, but you will eventually reach. You can see it coming a ways away. There is a fog that you see, but it is a turgid yellow. It is not the fog of condensed ground fog. It is mixed with something else in the air. And when you reach the mire, you can see that maybe this was a Venetian style city at one point. Maybe it was intended to have, canals and things, but that has undercut the city itself. And you can see there are boulevards to move along between in places, but there's good sections of the city where things have fallen down, and there are some buildings. You can see that there do seem to be some more intact buildings towards the middle as you sail in, and it is remarkably quiet here. You're not hearing insects. You're not hearing birds. You're not hearing reptiles. It is quiet. And are you heading for the center? Is that the goal, do you think? Or what's the plan here?
Our intelligence suggests that the emanation is from the mire, and therefore it would be logical to seek the center of the mire as the center of this infection.
The plan when we get there.
We will expunge it.
Expunge, right.
Then
For it is holy to protect the innocent, and we will do that by confronting evil.
Right. Well, I don't doubt your commitment to confronting evil. It's just that we seem a bit understaffed for quite an undertaking.
We are never understaffed in the shadow of the presence.
Of course we're not. I just want to focus on not making martyrs, if that makes sense, Sir Quartz.
Martyrs are holy, but I agree that martyrdom without significant outcome would be a waste of resource.
All right, a pragmatic holy person. That's good to know.
So I think this is another this first step to get up into the center area is and move your way through this winding city is another wasteland survival. Let's have you roll steel.
Is it possible I can spend data, I think, to gain advantage? Information is power.
Absolutely.
Can I spend that data to give someone else advantage? I'm not suggesting necessarily I roll it.
Yep, you can give somebody else advantage.
Then I will do that.
Now, Leandro, there's almost no chance that you can fail.
Don't jinx it. I'm gonna roll the Riverfolk dice, so it won't be completely my fault.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, all right, that's a 10.
That is a 10. So we look there. You need to pick one from the top, and then you get to pick one from the bottom.
All right, that is wasteland survival. I think a member of your group is hurt or sick. I think when we're in this dead mire, someone has to catch something while we're there.
I'd like to volunteer a crusader.
We brought bodies.
What quality level of the Crusaders?
1.
So if they take harm,
their red cowls.
Yes. So what happens to the Crusaders? What goes wrong that lowers them to quality 0?
I think they get infected because they're the only people without hazmat suits.
Yeah, I think that even at this mantle, that mist is kind of going along, and there's that coughing, and you will see them sicken quickly, and then they collapse. There's a handful of them that collapse in the boat, and they go very still for a few moments.
Bind them quickly.
Do you bind them? Do you throw them overboard? What's the plan to deal with these things?
They are not evil.
Poet is busy steering the boat, so she's just like,
what do you do, Eddie, Quartz? There are half dozen of these things now. They were Crusaders. They're people you talk to, people you've been around for the last several days, but now they are starting to twitch unnaturally. And
I will nod to Eddie and Eddie's and say, yes, but bind them. I think that would be best. And I'm actually going to start kind of doing an inspection of them to kind of look at what exactly is happening to them, yeah.
Okay. So to diffuse the situation, Eddie's, do you think that's more improvised tech, or is it quick action, or is it just physical exertion?
I think it's quick action, because it's like getting them done before they get too twitchy.
Then roll with steel.
$11.
Nice. So you get them bound. You can see that their transformation seems to be reflexive. Like you can't see them becoming animate. It all seems to be almost like a frog twitching kind of thing. When they come to life, like they're waking up and uncertain, but certainly straining against those bonds. And they don't communicate. They have no voice, and you can't see any light of reason in their eyes any longer. Their skin has gone kind of a sallow yellow.
The onset of this disease was disturbingly fast.
We are in the heartland.
We had best be extremely careful as we proceed.
I would wish to undertake some experiments to determine the weakness. If you believe these crusaders are now among those diseased, it would be good to know more about the condition and their vulnerabilities. Does anyone object?
I don't object, but I don't think I'm going to watch or help.
It is surely only logical to investigate the evil we seek to expunge.
That is very true. We must learn what we can from these poor folk and the sacrifice they have made.
Then I think that you will get a data. Leandro, let's get the second part of that wasteland survival roll.
Yeah, so I was looking through that, and like river folk have enough surpluses. You don't need a hidden treasure. Yeah, this is me metagaming this. I will pick the discover a secret. I think we're in this dead city. Surely there must be something interesting, some interesting info there.
I think that you can see that there are portions of this city that have a weird set of stone to them that you're kind of trying to put together in your mind, and like, where have I seen that before? And you will realize the stone reminds you of what people have told you of the Dark Crystal, of those catacombs, of the stones from there. Like clearly some of the rock and things here, the facings on these, there's clearly some connection there between that place and this. Does that seem fair?
Can I just add a little to the narrative then? Because the thing about finding bits of the shards of the sanctuary and using them as relics or creating them as relics is that I have to tell you what happens in the location. And what I've sketched in is when we harvest one of those, it sends a signal to the dark crystal, and a small dark crystal grows in the location from which we took the shard of the sanctuary, potentially extending the range of the damned I put in, but it could be any manner of things.
It could be any manner of things. So you will glide along through here quietly, as quietly as you can, but you're still making more noise than anything else here. And you've bound these things, and they do rattle and shake in the boat. And you will stop and bring yourself up short as you can see what seems to be like a central feature, a central building of this city, and it looks a lot like a cathedral. It looks a lot like some of the Sky Children's works, but it's wrong. The architecture is wrong. The lines, the cut, everything seems to be slightly an anathema, if something can be slightly an anathema. Like it's not the way that the cathedral is supposed to be. And you will see there are sort of in like corrals almost, you will see that there are these drowned kind of standing around in corrals. And there are some of them that are taking buckets and keeping them moistened. And then you can tell that they're almost sorted by how decayed they are. What do you want to do?
I believe we have found our objective.
They're like fucking cattle.
This is most unusual. I'd expected some sort of chemical leak or strange.
I believe
do not know
that
what,
the dark
but
crystal is influencing events here.
then perhaps you will have a chance of expunging these creatures if it's under the influence of that.
That is an interesting question. We held off the damned some time ago, if you remember, but we assumed that they were under the influence of the crystal, but they bore no relationship to these drowned. How should we proceed, Dew of the River Folk? Is a direct approach to be recommended?
I think this is your area of expertise more than it is mine. Quartz.
So Quartz, yeah, can you just, I've seen a lot of things, but that's wrong. And the only other thing that I've seen that's kind of similar is the one time when I went by the sanctuary and looked at it, and that felt kind of right in the opposite way that's wrong. So it seems like you got a pretty good connection here. What is this dark crystal, and why are the Sky Children connected?
We believe that the dark crystal originates from the antithetical dimension to the sanctuary. It is where the presence banished those who did not deserve to live in its light. The dark crystal, we have assumed, was driving the damned. This discovery leads me to conclude that its influence is broader and wider than anticipated, and suggests that significant action needs to be taken now.
Is it time for you to expunge?
Did you bring a bomb?
I was about to ask if we had the makings of an explosive device.
I doubt big enough to deal with all of that.
Would the fuel on this ship cause a sufficient explosion?
It would if we had any other methods of getting out of here.
Yeah,
in the current circumstances,
yeah,
escape is not a high priority, surely.
Says the creature that can just disapparate and show up again later.
We have located the source of this. If there is nothing that we can do to take it out now, we can come back in greater numbers.
Do you know Soft?
Yes.
Do you think her people could just do a flyover and drop something big on this?
It would seem likely, from what I know of their capabilities.
Because I'm not really down to be in one of those pens.
We're going to involve more weirdos from the sky. Okay, all right, I see.
I believe it may be possible to overload my energy projector and cause a sufficient wide-scale explosion. One of its characteristics is that it may be possible to wire it to affect far more than it is designed to do.
Oh, I just looked at that move. Oh my god.
I am proud to be part of this plan.
I think Cole just looks at that proclamation and just like mutters to herself, "What did I just say about fucking martyrs?"
All that I believe I would require is a sufficient distraction to get close to the center of this structure.
Yeah, I'd have to get inside. Yeah.
Well, I did bring this, and Eddie's holds up a long spherical metal tube about so big. It's a sonic pulsator, and it'll bring they're not kraken, but they're like turtle kraken that live around these parts in mass. And you know, I'm not going to stick around for that, but if you want to hang out and play with your energy projector, they'll give you a distraction.
That
certainly
seems to me to be an excellent suggestion.
So you will settle yourselves in, and Eddie's, you'll pull this thing out. And what does it look or sound like when you call this horde from the deep?
It's a dog whistle. We can't hear anything. I don't know if the drowned notice it at all, but and I think she would need to like set it like away from where our boat is.
Okay.
Like it's like a set it and then we get out type of thing.
Absolutely. Get that device set up, get that thing. You don't hear anything, but you'll make your way across again through this sludgy area back over to the boat. The boat itself is kind of getting discolored by this point of having been in this muck for so long. But then you'll start hearing noise like you haven't before. Like it's been quiet and there is a skittering like giant beetles and the splashing of water. And you will start to see these enormous scaly turtles, these things. This is clearly like they don't even like being here, but they are pushing up. And you can see on the one section of the city where they've arrived, they start kind of pouring onto it and more, and they're climbing over each other. And then you'll see like the building that they're on just collapse down into the water, and they are kind of roiling. And now all the water around here is shaking. The mist is in all kinds of disturbances, and certainly you start to see those the forces of the drowned. Like a couple of these cadres are moving that way, descending into the water and heading over that way. So your opportunity is here to make your way in with relatively clear way to get there.
I thank you for your assistance, members of the Riverfolk. I now consider friends. Please do not feel obliged to wait.
I trust you all. I trust that you will be able to, that you will make your way out if you are able, Quartz, and if not, I shall spread the word of what you have done here today.
I had always rather hoped, Dew of the Riverfolk, that I would become a character in one of your increasingly popular books.
And Quartz, you're like, I don't know what you are, but remember what you said about martyrs. Don't be a martyr unless you make it count. All right, make it count.
I will endeavor so to do.
Then Quartz, I think you need to make a forge a path roll to get over there.
Okay, so that's plus force, which is where I took the additional roll in. So 2d6 plus 2. 9.
That is a 9.
I'm just wondering whether any among the Riverfolk can think of a way to just create that additional diversion. when I call for aid.
Yeah.
Any suggestions?
Yeah, I think we can mildly retcon that this beacon that Eddie's has had to be carried closer to the water, and Code absolutely volunteered for that. So that's why that's why she's not making any quips in the boat. She's out near where the turtles are.
Helping with the distraction. Okay. Then let's have you go ahead and roll with force.
All right. I remember my force is good. Actually, no, my force is fine. So that's a 7. Just barely.
That is a 7. So it will go up to you had
10
a
plus.
10 plus. So pick one from the Forge the Path.
The route I took is lost.
Absolutely. And I think you will get into this building. You get past these things. You make your way in. You've got your device. And you can see that there are more intact beings there. And you can see that there is a non-decayed person. At least their skin looks normal. They do have flowers where their eyes should be, and in ears, and maybe even their mouths when they open. And it is there, and it has some of the old tech around it, and some of the shards. Some of the, clearly harvested some of the crystal, and it's wearing the uniform of the damned.
Of course it is. Do I have time to unearth forgotten lore before I pull the ripcord?
You got a 10 plus on your Forge a Path, so yes.
Okay, so roll plus lore is only a 5. So I think that blows my 10.
Yes, it does. And I think that is that moment when this figure turns and looks at you, and it's like, you're one of the children. Come down here. Have you come to harvest me and take me back? You come to do that?
I have come to determine if you are holy.
I think we know the answer to that, don't we?
Advancing all the time.
Yes. Come closer.
Do you claim holiness?
I am a rebel who fell from heaven to come down to here. Immortal, unchanging, tied to this world, chained by your God here. So come a little forward so I may spit in your face.
That would be a complicated endeavor. I would prefer to press this button here.
And you are going to activate the device?
The experimental energy projector.
All right. Then go ahead and roll with lore.
So another +1. Oh, sorry, I'm going to spend data to get advantage.
Absolutely. Now there's almost no chance you could fail.
Exactly. So here we go. So get those 3. That is... oh, dear me, that changed in a hurry at my end. That's a 7.
That is a 7. When you fiercely assault, you're using your energy projector. You do it, and you need to choose one from the character list there as you let loose with this into him.
I think it goes haywire, affecting far more than I desired.
I think outside where you all are at, kind of in the boat, waiting and watching, there is a flash, and you see the surface of the water ignite. And it's like a tidal wave of flame as it roils across and is coming your way towards where you're at.
So I didn't answer your question. I answered the moves question. So I
okay.
inflict savage, terrifying harm, frightening and dismaying my foes, and it goes off over a much wider area than I'd anticipated, or maybe I
Absolutely.
planned.
And I think that this thing is hit by that, and the energy will roil out from it. What does that energy look like when you let loose with this thing?
Oh, I think it's a blinding white light that simply washes across this space, perhaps cutting it in half.
Yeah, and I think when you do that, you will cut into this thing, and I think the energy will kind of wash out, and you will feel it. This thing, as it gets cut, you know it's immortal, but it will take a while for it to come back. But what you hear it do is you hear it call your name, and you hear your name echo out, and you hear it echo out into the distance to where the damned are. Yeah, this is the place is on fire. So tell me, Dew and Cold and Eddie's, the surface of this mire is on fire. You can't see Quartz from where you are, but you will see that these beings, these undead, are toppling into the water. They are crashing into the muck of the thing. So what do you do, Eddie's?
I think she yells at Dew and she yells at Dew and Cold to get under the water, and I'll steer the boat.
So you want to forge a path for the group to get out of here?
Yeah.
Let's have you roll with force.
An 8.
That is an 8. So you make the trip, but you have to pick 2 from the list on Forge a Path. The boat is swinging around in here, hitting against the muck. Dew and Cold, are you getting yourselves below the water, hanging onto the boat to keep yourselves secure, safe?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
It sounds the best option. Anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you've got this suit, so it makes sense. So tell me what the 2 picks are for Forge a Path that you took.
Before you make that choice, there is a serene move, which is also when a character from another family sincerely pleads for succor and deliverance, they can spend 2 treaty on you to summon a serene quick character to their side for a scene.
If you were present, I would absolutely say yes. But we will come to your fiery sermon in a moment. But I will come back to you on that. What do you think, Eddie's?
I'm exposed to danger as I travel, and the route I took is lost.
Okay. I think you will get this boat moving, propelled, but there is that wave of fire that will wash over you, and you're going to take 3 harm. I believe the suit that was provided to you will eat 1 of that harm, so you'll just take 2. And this boat is getting dragged along. And Quartz, fire, flame, and you look out and you cannot see the route to get back to your friends. Place is in flames.
Then I will have to get out by another means and find them later.
And how is that you do that?
I can't move unless someone summons me. So I have to do this old school. So I will have to forge a path, I think.
Yeah, I think you have to forge a path until someone calls you. Let's have you roll that.
Now, having spent some data to get advantage on that previous one, I do have, as part of that, I will not abandon you. You can, when you zoom in with a goal of trying to save someone, gain 1 grace and advantage on a roll of your choice crucial to the mission's success.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
So I'd like to suggest that we roll with advantage.
Yeah.
+2.
Given that we're going for the martyr.
Yeah, and it's looking difficult to be martyred. That's a 10.
That is a 10. So what is the one you want to pick?
I think that I can't go back.
Okay. There were some things there, some pieces of the shard, some evidence, some tech maybe you could have salvaged, but you will rush out. You can tell that you've gotten past the flames. You can pull yourself back into the boat. You can see that the mire is burning bright.
Yeah, and I think at that point I'll sort of get out of the get out of the water, climb back onto the boat, and I think I will call out Quartz's name and attempt to summon him here.
And I think we hear the flames. We hear the grinding sound of the turtles. They're kind of Ulan-like cries of triumph as they're bringing the city down. Then we will see Quartz appear. And what does that look like again when you are summoned, Quartz?
Again, I think it's like a slight slice in reality, and a bright light spreads out, and then he's there. Well, my friends, it appears to have been a complete success.
And Eddie's just gonna pull a fused piece of armor off so that she can get a breath in.
Oh, let me assist you. You have done a very fine job here. And I do have curative admixture. So I will roll plus law to try to do some good.
That's a weird friends.
That's a 6. On 79, pick 1, 10 plus pick 2. There is no 6 effect, I'm afraid.
Well, that 6 effect is my effect. So I think that what happens is that Quartz gets this ripped open to help you, but there is still so much toxic stuff in the air. You're going to take 2 more wound levels.
I'm fine too if it goes all the way. So,
do you think it goes all the way? You tell me.
Well, that
I do have a get out of jail free card here.
I think that triggers the whole her being martyred, and then Duke can take back the story of how she was right about some stuff, and she can be kind of woven into legend among our people.
So content to be martyred.
Yeah,
to save you.
And I think she'll say, "Damn it, Sky Child, that was more than you said it was going to be. Anyway, I guess I'm going to be martyred right here. That was worth it. Well done." And she'll pass on.
I imagine that we maybe see your dice fall out of your hand just at that last moment. We're going to cut from that. Let's take our break. And when we come back, we will get the zoom out for our other 2 family members. And then we'll look at family moves or turnings or however we want to do this. So let's take 5.
that experience suggests, Leandro, that all quick characters roll better than real characters.
Yeah, pretty much.
We've got, two on that evidence track now from last week and this.
I will tell you, when I ran this the last couple of times, quick characters had about a 50% survival rate, though. So this has been a drastic change.
We still did lose one today.
Yeah, well, 1 out of 4 though. So for soft, Leandro, what would you like to do when we zoom out? What has gone on with them? You can mark a roll, go scavenging and add 1 tech to your stock, describe a lead for a new surplus or how to remove a need and gain a data, help another family to gain a treaty, or discover a new danger and say what other family or faction it's threatening.
We have a surplus in dangers. I do want to ask a clarifying thing,
Sure.
because the expedition to Demystified, we took that on the lead that it would erase a need of ours.
Yeah.
That was,
What do you think that how did that? Leadership.
Yeah.
That was the one. Yeah, because you got that data for that. Yes. So you can erase need leadership from that.
Cool. And remind me, that bumps up my mood, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Takes you to just a -1.
Oh, well, that's good to know. For some reason, the data validation is being annoying.
Oh yeah, it doesn't read off of that. But and the drop down may be a pain in the butt. Sorry.
No worries. I'll fix that. Give me a sec. So yeah, I think I thought about changing roles, but I think the wave would be concentrating on getting rid of those needs. There's still a hideous amount of them. So I think it's searching a new lead.
So what need is it that Soft was looking to solve? What problem?
I was gonna say that, and sorry, I got distracted by this nonsense. I think right now it's, let's see. So we got rid of leadership. I think Soft showed that she can be a leader. In that expedition, nobody died. I think trade is probably the next one. Just like it's either trade or culture, but I think she wants to concentrate the wave to go look outwards. So I think it has to be trade in the short term.
Then I think you already have the trade that you can, with the outlet groups that you have treaty with. So you need to find someone else. And there are 2 possibilities, both of which would be more than happy if you could go and meet with them to establish contacts. One would be the damned. They certainly would be happy to have someone engaged in trade. But the other one is the City of Glass, because they're involved. They have a lot of trade. Now, mind you, they are no friends to the river folk, but the river folk don't have to know.
That's interesting. They do have a lot of treaty on us though. They have. Oh, that's a ridiculous amount of treaty on us.
You got to work to get that level down.
Yeah, just a bit.
So yeah, I think that's the lead, and you can also then take 1 data. And then for radical, what do we want to do for your when we zoom out for you?
I'm struggling with this.
Sure. When in doubt, taking tech isn't a reasonable one to have for your family stock.
Yeah, the two I was looking at was either the resource, a lead that might give us a new surplus or remove a need, and specifically around recruits, or yeah, or finding a new role in my family. What happens if I get 4 check boxes there?
When you check your fourth one, then your character retires.
I had one more soiree I wanted to do with Radical, but that's maybe I'll do that one. I'll do that one.
Gonna mark a change in Radical's life.
Yeah. So I'm gonna mark profit.
Okay.
And I'm going to lean into that bit we were speaking about last time of him being a little bit at odds with the sedentary things that's happening with the seeds. And I think he goes back to they go back to their advisor, Corden, and they say that, still believe what I put in my thesis was right, and even if they buried the damn thing, I'm going to make sure that people know that we can't just sit here and that the world's coming for us and we have to go out and face it. And so I think he's going to be going out and trying to get new recruits for the seeds to bolster their numbers and to start creating an expeditionary / military branch that needs to go out and start forcefully recovering things.
Oh, interesting. I think that what makes sense for this is that you go to that unearthed library. That you had there. Rumors have come about it. Some other people went to it, and I think that you will find that there are people that live there. And some of them don't want to live there anymore. They would like to be out. But I also think that when you get there, that they're like, that you've got more knowledge of knowledge itself and how it's organized, and they're like, you should stay here. You should become a librarian. You become a librarian. You have access to all the books then, all the knowledge.
So I think they
have a special armor for it too.
Armor?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I was going to turn around and walk away since Radical's never been like the bookworm of his people. But I think when there's like another role there for them to like be a protector of the knowledge, then that's something that they're interested in. So
okay.
Sure.
I like that very much. So if you're willing to have Radical commit himself to that, or is it themselves or himself? Them commit themselves to that, then you may erase the need recruits.
Okay. Yep. Do that.
So one of the things I think we ought to do is we ought to have a chance for everybody to do another family move or two, and then maybe look at where we are and whether we need to go to another turning of the age and move the clock forward. A lot has happened in this era. Threats have been dispatched, new threats have appeared, new things have come onto the map, and we've seen the fallout from faction splitting, and we've seen this city rise. So let's start with the Sky Children. What are the Sky Children up to?
Well, I think we agreed that if we could pull off the expunging of the evil from the Dread Mire, that would take away our need for prestige.
Certainly, because you went in, the stories will be told about you, Quartz, going into the heart of this and facing down the foe at the heart of the Black Marsh, at the heart of the mire.
And the story goes on to say, because once per age, I can, when I can once per age define another commandment. And so I started with one, did one in the last age, this one, which will become known as Eddie's Law. It is holy to sacrifice for the greater good.
That kind of sacrifice, that kind of martyrdom is more holy.
Absolutely. Okay. In terms of what the family is about, what we are about, I think that we are going to start. I think we've learned that simply turning up and saying the presence is right, our way or the highway, is not effective. So, but I think we want to start binding people to us. So I'm just looking at the call in a debt move.
Okay.
Because I think that we have done the river folk a favor in helping expunge this thing which was spreading down the waterways. When you call in an obligation another family has to you, spend one treaty and choose one. I want to take barter goods from the river folk by spending one of our several treaty on them. Yeah, so my treaty on them will drop from 4 to 3.
Does that work for you, David?
Yep, I'm not going to intervene in that. That's fine by me.
Okay. So is that like building more trade routes, more trade connections kind of thing?
I think as the church, the organized church, begins to spread, it becomes a medium for trade as well as, so where the priesthood goes is known to be under the eye of the presence, and therefore becomes a safe place to trade.
Means the quality of life for people within your community goes up, and for the people that you've brought in from the northern area, from the visitors, with the kind of more promises that promises start to pay off for them.
Yeah.
Then what about the river folk? First of all, how does the idea of gambling start to infiltrate the river folk?
Yeah, so I think that this idea of like wagering stuff does come back, but rather than like specifically I don't think it's so much like games of chance and playing dice and stuff. It's more like, it's more like wagering on tests of skill. So it's things like, essentially like whichever of us manages to navigate these rapids first will get, these things. So it's more taken on as a sort of, as personal challenges than just, games of chance.
Exports. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. All right. And then what about what is your family doing?
So I think probably our primary focus at first is going to be putting a stop to this war with the City of Glass. I think by kind of mounting essentially trying to mount a decisive attack against the city.
Absolutely. And you have advantage on that. You set that up.
Yep, certainly.
So let's have you roll with force.
Certainly. I think that.
Now, I have a question for you before you roll.
Certainly, yep.
And I said force, but I actually mean grasp.
Yeah.
Are you calling in another family to help you? Are you spending treaty to make them come and help you?
That's a good question.
Now this is more of a psychological thing because you already have advantage.
I think actually, given that we have a lot of treaty on them, I think I will call for assistance from the dancing wave on this by spending a treaty on them.
Ooh, we weren't gonna talk to the City of Glass anyway.
And let's have you roll your treaty then, Dancing Wave.
All right. See. So I roll our treaty.
However much treaty you have with them, and I think the max is +4 you can roll with.
Oh, the treaty I have on them, or we have on them. So it's a measly 1. They had 5, well 6, but of course I rolled big. I rolled a 12.
Okay, so even if things go wrong, you're not going to be exposed to retribution. So let's have the river folk roll with grasp with advantage.
That's an 11.
That is an 11. So so this is Fiercely Assault on a 10 plus. Let's see here. I said Fiercely Assault. I keep switching between the other moves. So on a 10 plus, choose one.
I think it's going to be that we have to tie up a surplus to keep it in under our control.
Okay.
So, and I think the surplus is going to be the obvious one here of weaponry.
Okay.
So yeah, if we stop having kind of our surplus of weaponry, then we may not be able to maintain control of the city.
And this will fulfill your need, revenge. What does that look like? Tell me what we see on screen when the river folk make their move.
Yeah, so I think this is we kind of get the we sort of see a flotilla of riverfolk ships coming down the river towards the city, but there's obviously the big dam in the way, and so as they're approaching, there's just that moment where there's almost, you could feel it rumbling through the floor more than see it, as the charges underneath the dam go off and the dam collapses. There's a big like tsunami of water, which is sort of the ships are braced for and kind of crest over and move in towards the city. And there's also maybe at this point some well, I guess I'll ask Leander, how would the wave assist? Would it be obvious stuff like actually flying over and like lobbing shells, or something more subtle?
Yeah, I think usually they're quite subtle, but given this is just a straight up attack, it's probably psychologically it's more intimidating, just like this big flying War of the Worlds style ships aiding the river folk who, probably in some other age were just like some nomads, but no, they help build the city and they're not coming in force. And they've got squid friends.
Cool.
And I think you will break the City of Glass's dominance and control of that trade to the south. They still exist, but but they have less force to project into your area. What about the seeds? What are the seeds up to?
Well, besides doing kind of armchair science, no, I think Radical was able to go out and bring back some recruits before kind of moving out into a new role there. And I think I also want to see if I can tie in that technology and some of the data that we got from when we went down and worked, blew up the Mystified.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they still really need to get the Warren off their back to be able to get back out into the world, because the Warren is still hunting them down. And so I think they tried their biological attack. And this time they want to work with the Sky Children, since they just saw this amazing display of power by Quartz and his energy projector. And they want to meld that with some of this technology that they got from the Mystified and take a stab at the Warren again.
Okay. So Sky Children, the seeds come and ask you for your aid in this assault.
I think that we would need to understand how this would be holy.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Quartz, because we are trying to spread knowledge and civilization and hope through what is left of this world. And we have managed to build a city, but we have not been able to bring many of our technological wonders and abilities out en masse to the wasteland yet. And much of that has been because we've been caged here now for a while. Anytime we send out our people, these creatures attack us. And so in order for us to improve the lives of many, we need to strike a blow at the Warren.
So you are defining the Warren as evil and wish to confront it?
Yes.
What are you prepared to sacrifice for this greater good?
There will be lives lost from our end, for sure. When you speak of sacrifice, is there a larger sacrifice or something else you're looking for there? Many of our people have gone to the lectures by the Sky Children and attend your mass in the cathedral already. We stand with you in your belief in the presence.
We believe that a common culture that balanced belief in the presence against your short-term and narrow understanding of what you call science would be beneficial. How might we develop such a culture, Radical of the Seed?
Well, I have recently been given a job opportunity, if you may, where there is much lost lore, and many of the books there are of a spiritual nature. But also, I've only had the chance to look at a few of them, but many of them talk about how the science that we seek to understand, and this power, this magical power that we have unearthed, or that is now here, is part of something, a more divine meaning, if you will.
Can this library, can you obtain knowledge on culture from this library that we may possess or peruse?
Now, I am going to hold you here. So mechanically, the thing is, he's making a treaty. He's calling in the debts that he already has with you from treaty. And so if you're going to move into this negotiation, you need to spend a treaty to deny that first. before we go into that stage mechanically.
Okay, then no, we will not spend treaty to avoid that.
Okay.
We will be prepared on the grounds that this thing does harm to join an expedition to see it done down.
So in that case, then, Sky Children, you will roll your treaty with the seeds to roll for your assist to potentially give them advantage. So you lend aid to them.
So that's we have treaty 3 on the seed, so that's
roll with plus 3.
Plus 3. That's 12.
Look at you, and you are not going to be exposed to danger if this goes terribly wrong.
And can I spend data or tech here to boost my roll at all, or now that I have advantage,
well,
that's
you
it?
already have advantage, so that is the max that a boost can happen here.
Okay. By force, roll plus grasp. That's not good. That's a 5 again. These things are just meant to wipe me off the map. So.
Wow.
So the Crusaders that we send with you come away unharmed, and yet.
Let me think here. Let me look at your stuff. This is so. I think this attack again, trying to get them, and they've been wandering in packs, and hitting your APCs out in the field and so on. And this attack, now they come to the city. And I think that these things, they don't come in force, but they haunt the streets at night. They hide in the shadows. They strike from the darkness, and no one is safe anymore. And you will lose your safety. They are smarter. Once again, they're smarter than you think. They still don't communicate, but they have a plan and they carry it out. Our Soft and the Wave.
Yeah, I think the Wave is gonna send some diplomatic feelers out to the damned.
Okay.
My other plan was going to do something to the Sky Children because they're not fans of the Sky Children lately. Since the Sky Children took on the folks at the Beloved, so a Soft's Wave. It's not really feeling friendly to them. So like, you know what? No, we got some info on the damned. They weren't there for the whole Meyer thing, so they don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Do you want to meet with their leaders?
Yeah, conduct diplomacy. It's and I think let's see. Can I spend tech on this to give an advantage?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I think I have a 0 on. Okay. 2, 3. That's a 12.
That is a 12. You will send your expedition in. You will. I assume Soft is leading that.
Mm-hmm.
The damned are scattered. They're not numerous, but they have this area, and a little bit like the Sky Children, they manifest these weird powers. and they have these strange uniforms, outfits. You're not sure what. But you will know that the leader of one of these like important groups of the dam, because they do seem to be decentralized, but there is one known as PbtA, and they are interested in meeting with you. And you will come and find them in a ruins. You haven't seen any settlements in your time here, but you have seen goods and things like that. And you haven't seen that many people. But you will go and meet with them, humanish looking. You can see that this one has what looks like thorns that are kind of driven through him in places. And he doesn't seem to make any notice of it, even though they look incredibly painful. And he says, "You are the first to come to speak with us."
That's a bit surprising. I would have thought your people would be worth speaking to. You are all in force.
We are, but our territory is circumscribed by forces outside our control, and we're only able to expand it a little at a time.
Well, I think my people may be in a position to help with that problem. If you don't mind me just cutting straight to the chase.
No. What is it that you want? Soft, was it?
Well, it's short for a sensation. Technically it's all soft and still and fair. But you can stick with soft.
Quite a name.
Might I ask for your name?
PbtA is how I am designated.
Fair enough. PbtA. I do think that our groups can do quite a bit more working together. We don't seem much alike. In fact, I think the one thing that really unites us is a checkered history with the presence.
Yes. I can certainly sympathize with that. Our history with them is somewhat checkered as well.
I had an experience lately looking back at our people's history, and it showed quite a breadth of what the advocates of the presence wrought upon, not just on this world, but on others.
Listen, there are many things that we have here in our territory, things that we have covered, things that we have found, things that are useless to us. They are ashes upon our tongue. They are not things we need, but we could trade, could offer you to assist. We could perhaps begin exchange.
Soft nods. I should say, she still looks exactly the same. It's like she hasn't aged at all. She nods and says, "Then in exchange for those resources, we can give you reach. We can give you a chance to branch out."
Well, what we want now is information. We want the stories of what is happening elsewhere in the world. Very few of our people are able to leave, and we have such a narrow vision. We wish it to be broadened. That's all we ask, to tell us tales.
I think Soft like nods at that, and she's smiling because she has basically just been asked to talk someone to death uh, about life in the wasteland, and she says, "Well, tales we know, we can certainly provide."
Excellent. Perhaps we will tell you some stories as well.
I should say that like the folks Soft brought are probably the most human, still human looking, but still, it's not like arachnoid deep there. But there are some folks who are like have turned themselves. One of them is trying out the human centaur look. It's a bit weird. Another one is trying out 8 arms. It's a bit unwieldy because they still only have 2 legs. So there, Soft wasn't gonna tell people to like no, just look human.
Dial it back a bit.
Yeah, no, she wasn't gonna say that. We go out there in our full weirdness.
Absolutely. I think if you are willing to start providing the damned with knowledge of the outside world, you may erase your need for trade.
Absolutely. That seems fair.
Now, I would propose we can go around again, but we can move to the turning of the age. We can move the clock forward. Significant things have happened.
For what it's worth,
yes,
I'd like to go around again because I'm sitting on an awful lot of treaty that I need to turn into something useful before the end of this age.
Well, let's give you one more go around then. We started with you last time, so let's come back to you.
We know that now some of the wave have joined the Sky Children's Church, don't we?
Yes.
And so we have 4 treaty on the wave, and we would like to spend one to take defenses from them and add it to our portfolio.
Now, Wave, you can choose to spend a treaty to resist. We can work that down. What's the differential between the two of you in terms of treaty here?
They have more.
4-2.
4-2. I would be willing to spend down all that treaty just to like at least bring down theirs on us.
Okay. So you want to spend your treaty on them down to 0?
Yes.
Okay. Then it will take some serious prodding from the Sky Children. Now,
we are blessed with immeasurable patience.
Now let me ask you this. You have one more option here. When you get to 0, when they're coming and asking you for this, you can try and resist them again, but you have to roll hold together.
Let me see the.
Do you want to take that risk?
Or
do you want to just?
Our mood went up, so certainly it could be worth the risk. Let me see what my surpluses are. Defenses was kind of like our big, kind of like our. Well, we have safety, and actually, what my plans were for the next age. Actually, I don't know if I need defenses.
Do you want to hand that off then?
Yes, I think I will. I think I will, but it be begrudging. It's a lot of it. It is. What does that look like? What sort of defenses are the Sky Children demanding?
I think that we know you have things like force fields and defensive missiles and stuff like that. And we certainly think that the cathedral and our increasing number of churches will benefit from that kind of protective arrangements. Because as the number of churches and believers grows, there may not be enough of our sky children to always step up. So the church is beginning to act to protect itself.
You already have those folks down south. Like, come on. Yeah, but I think it's long, and it's long negotiations over this for sure. It's all wearying, mostly for soft side. It sounds like, but I think in the back of her mind, or at least in the back of the leadership and soft's wave, like, think long term for now. Yeah, you can have those differences.
Now, mechanically, just so I understand this, so I spend a treaty to demand, and then spend one to resist. So it goes from 4-2 to 2-0. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Fine.
And it doesn't necessarily always have to run down the differential, because sometimes people will want to keep some treaty, but it is a good way to start evening that out. And so, yeah, you'll mark defenses as a surplus if you don't have it as a need, and Leandra will remove that. What other thing are the river folk doing in this era?
So the actually, there's one thing I'd quite like to do, just to because I don't think it warrants like a full scene in character. Sure. But at some point, I would like to have a meeting between I forget my own character's name, between Dew and Soft, where Dew is going to request that Soft get their hands on a book for him, because it's one of the ones it's the one that's in the Project Sunbeam.
Yeah, I don't think there's even you do have another treaty, but no, I think things are genial enough for the river folk that, like, I don't know if you need to cajole her enough. I think she's well distracted by the sky children. And I mean it was a bit of a dick move to, like, you were all researching Project Sunbeam, and then the wave just like, nope, ours now.
No, that's okay. But yeah, I will spend a point of wisdom and give you the role retriever, which basically, when you are able to deliver the tome to me, it counts as completing a role like any other. But you do also get to say who else wants to get their hands on this book. The book in question is the one I mentioned earlier, the archive transcripts of the International Renewable Energy Commission, which is a book on engineering, and it's kept on like one of these like really heavy duty data pad things. It's sort of solar powered and designed to be kind of, triply redundant and all that sort of thing. It's
yeah, funny thing, the wave has been looking for something exactly like that in Project Sunbeam. So that's going to be interesting if they want to fulfill that role, because if they fail, their main role suffers. So
but yeah, in terms of the in terms of like our family move, I'm actually it's going to be another book related one, I think.
Sure.
But this will be so the book that Dew is currently looking for in order to complete his current role is this. It's basically an old book isn't quite the right word, but it's a collection of writings called The Source of the River, which is kind of an ancient holy text of the river folk, and I think that this is buried on in like a funeral cairn that's in the land that's now populated by the I forgot what we called them, the folk who live just to the north of the lake, the visitors.
The visitors.
So I think that the river folk are going to approach the visitors and basically ask for access to it so that they can retrieve it.
Then let's have you roll diplomacy.
Certainly. I think I will spend a tech on this, which will basically be representing sort of the goods that we bring as an offering to them, sort of thing. Some maybe some sort of water filters and other things to help them in their in their dealings in their day-to-day life. Ooh, that is a 7, and only just.
So you need to get a third party to help you make that arrangement. You give them a treaty.
I think it makes sense if that is the Sky Children, because they've had dealings with the visitors as well, yeah. So I think it will be with the Sky Children.
And you will go and meet with them. They're pastoralists. They're kind of semi-nomadic, and you will meet with them and you can tell them what you want. And they'll say the place you want is a valley in the far north. We avoid in our pasture lines. We place guardsmen there because it is a dangerous location. But if you people wish to go there, you have gifted us, and we will let them go. And you can get access to that for future investigations. Let's come back to the seeds.
I think either they are becoming a militaristic, like totalitarian state, policing the streets every night to try to get rid of these things, and simultaneously desperately scouring the wasteland for some sort of doomsday device that they can ship down to the Warren. So we can go in either direction there.
Which way is more important? Is it more important to you to secure the city, to keep it from falling into disarray and into someone else's hands? Or is it to find a doomsday weapon?
Let's go for the doomsday weapon.
Okay, how much data do you want to spend?
I will spend 2.
Okay.
So I roll plus data?
Yep.
Oh, geez. I give up. That's a 6.
So the loss of the data is the primary thing that is the primary cost here you're going to be paying. But I do think that you will hear people say that the Warren has been seen in the kinds of places that you would look for doomsday weapons, the kinds of places you would look. They have been out prowling. And like you, they seem to be searching for a way to finish you off. They haven't found it. But unless something is done, it is going to come to a head here. Does that seem fair?
Fantastic. Let's go.
You know that Radical was interested in the Sky Children's family's support in attacking the Warren. I think that Quartz is beginning to think that perhaps a similar incisive strike as we took against the Dread Maya may be the way to achieve your objective, Radical.
I agree. I simply lack the means to pull something like that off, and given the intelligence of the Warren, it seems like we will need something that possibly we can strike them with from outside. I'm not sure that we will be able to get close enough inside there.
Starfare's orbital laser move.
Maybe there's an old satellite circling above with a nuke. I'm not sure. Just gotta find the access panel and we'll press the ball.
Well, In which case, I would simply like to spend treaty and take energy from you.
What do we got here?
We need the energy that you are hoarding in the city to power the defenses that now protect the cathedral.
I guess we'll burn you all the way down so you have one treaty left.
That is an acceptable cost at this stage.
So then what happens? They get to still spend that and take my energy?
Yep.
We end up at 1-0 in my favor, I think.
Yeah.
The seeds can roll, hold it together.
Oh,
You can roll hold it together. You would roll it at a 0 to avoid that last thing.
Rye seems to have taken all my bad luck, though.
Yeah, I'll roll hold together, sure.
Okay. There's a chance it could go well.
It's an 8.
Okay. On a hit, you mostly move. Okay. So you're not going to lose energy.
Roll plus move, yeah.
You're not going to lose energy. Courts, you'll spend your last treaty. They resist it. But you have to pick one from the list and to hold together.
Okay. I think we lose. Let's see. I'll do another family or faction came through and give them treaty on you, and I think that's probably the river folk because they have a combined interest in the capital, and since our energy is powering the main defenses, even if though we're not doing so well patrolling the streets, that's where that'll come in. So I'll give them one more treaty on me.
And let's come to soft.
We are going to conduct subterfuge on the Sky Children.
Okay.
I'm spending my last tech to get advantage on this.
All right.
Okay. All right, that's a 7.
That is a 7. So
that triggers my family move, Body Snatchers. When you roll 7+ on subterfuge, you may declare that some members of the targeted family or faction have been replaced with duplicates loyal to you. Now, here I need to ask: does the sleeper cell carry over the turning of the age, or do I have to spend them now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
They can sit still.
They will live on. They are like the Americans. They will be there for years.
Right. So,
and then what is the result that you want from this?
Okay. I'm gonna make my agents will make a resource appear more desirable. They just failed in taking energy from the river folk, right? Not the river folk, the seeds, right?
The seeds, yeah.
So I think part of what my agents achieve is like they modify some of the technical readouts on the defenses they just took, that it's gonna need like this nanogel to like keep it going, this like special bespoke nanogel. And the thing is, you can't really take that much left from the dancing wave. You can try, but like there's an easier source. There's like an entire circle of them all the way to the east. And looking at these like how to run these like force fields and defense manuals, it's like maybe the dancing wave are exaggerating that threat. It's just a normal byproduct of when they invade. It's manageable. They have dancing wave tech now. I mean, the wave used to worship the presence. How hard could offshoots of their technology be?
So the mechanical is that you're making which asset and what effect? Which asset are you affecting?
They're the defenses they just took.
Okay. So you're making them appear less desirable.
Yes. Because they're gonna need to go into the strife injured to keep it powering it.
Okay. So we'll keep that in mind as a piece in the fiction, Quartz.
Second-class technical nation seeks help and advisors from foreign countries. Screw them.
Okay. And I think that Seeds, you have been just in a whole set of mess with the Sky Children and pushing back and forth on them. I think through that you will pick up evidence that that's what's going on.
Pick up evidence that
you will figure out, and your advisor will say, we've looked at the notes and it looks like, because I name a family or faction that sees through the deception.
Mhm.
So I think it is that you can see that this is the game that is being played on the Sky Children.
Okay.
That Soft and his people are working an angle.
Okay.
Does that seem fair?
Seems fair. Sky Children are getting a little pushy. We'll have to see who our real friends are here.
Do you want to go to the turning of the age now?
We've got time. If we got time.
I'm much more comfortable than I was.
Okay. Then here is what we do. We move the clock forward. How far are we moving forward? Are we going a year? Are we going a decade? Are we going significantly further? What is your vote? Who has the lowest mood right now? Here's 0. Leandra,
that's
what are
the
you
wave, as always. I
Okay.
-1. It would have been 0 if not for some.
Let me hear your voice first on this then. How far would you want to move forward?
I want to move forward long enough that like trade relations, I just saw episode 1. Trade relations between the wave and the damned were solidified. Kind of like close to a decade, maybe not a full decade.
Yeah, but
like
let's
5
say
to 7 years.
Around a decade. We can kind of does that work for everyone else?
My only thing is I've kind of got a couple of things that are like in progress, and like 10 years seems to be quite long for, like I said, specifically like these couple of like things books and stuff I'm searching for where I like know where they are and how to get to them. So that feels like unless we just want to like say that we sort those out in the intervening time, but otherwise it just feels like
we might be able to roll those into the trials.
Yeah, sure thing.
And things, and maybe that will. Let's see how that rolls out. And we can kind of decide the time from that. Okay.
Dew can't be more than 35 already, can he?
Dew is only like 18, 19.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to have everybody. We're going to roll your fortunes and trials. We'll do that right now. And so let's start with the Sky Children. What is your mood?
Well, now it's 0.
Okay. Well, then odds are good.
And I don't think I have any chance of divine intervention on turning this to advantage. So we'll just roll +0. That's 11.
So you choose 2 fortunes, and you're going to gain 2 tech. We'll come back on those fortunes in a moment. David, what is your mood?
My mood is currently 2.
So roll with a +2.
Certainly. That's an 11.
Choose 2 fortunes and gain 2 tech. Seeds, what is your mood?
0. Any chance I can spend something on this roll?
Let me see. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think you can do that.
All right. Oh, a 7. Okay, take it.
So you get 1 trial, 1 fortune, and 1 tech. And then what about for our the wave?
Oh, it's a -1. We're so close to like getting to a 0. All right, let's roll. Okay, that's not too bad. That's an 8.
Good. So you choose a trial and a fortune and gain a tech. Let's do this. Let's make those picks, the trial and fortune picks right now. And then at the start of next session, we will do the updating the map, any changes and things like that. And if you don't think you're going to be here, maybe if you want to make some notes on that in between now and then, does that seem?
Sure.
Okay.
And I need to make a new character too, right?
Yes.
Okay. Should I just replace the character that's in the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Oh.
And if you want to, feel free to make a new tab and copy them over onto that, just so you have a record of them. That or copy the column and drop it, off to the side. That's what I've done before. And so in between now and next week, you'll want to look at your doctrine, lifestyle assets, and we'll look at the map. We'll make some choices. You make a choice about your character, whether you want to keep the old playbook, move to a new playbook, build a new guy from scratch, and then trigger a roll move. So let's start then. Alan, you've got 2 fortunes.
Yes, I think we're going to have your family finds a windfall. And I think this is probably because remember we schismed previously.
Yeah.
I think that probably the Sky Children are now a uniform whole. So we absorb back those Sky Children who'd kind of turned their back on the homeland. Gain 3 surpluses of your choice, but it left you bloated, gain need, idle. I think probably, given that I currently have need, luxury, and culture, I'll take those to get rid of, I'll replace those 2 with idle.
Okay.
And then that leaves me with 1 surplus, which I think for the sake of argument, I'll make energy.
That makes sense.
Given the previous fiction. And the second one, or do you want to go round?
Yeah, let's go around. Let's do one each from everybody. That's a good point. So what about for the river folk? Do you want to do your trial or your fortune first?
I actually got two
fortunes. That's right.
2
yeah,
fortunes for me,
both.
yeah. After taking the move that lets me get stuff when I get a trial as well, typical.
Oh.
So I am going to, I think actually I'm going to pick the one that I didn't take last time I did this in the end, but so I'm going to say that our family builds a place of safety and commerce, creating a new haven in this land, gain +1 reach and surplus prestige, but take need crops. And I think this is so as I said last time, it's sort of representing the fact we've actually got a couple of like more settled locations now in the City of Glass, as tenuous as that still is, and in the city itself. So I think we've kind of got that bit more stability for our people that's helping us out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it makes sense given that you've taken a settled place. You've got 2 landward locations that you're attached to. That makes sense. So let's come to the seeds. Do you want to do your trial or your fortune first?
So for my trial, I'm going to take your family fell apart into feuding factions. The eventual victors are stronger, more unified, but lacking refinement. Gain +1 grass and surplus leadership, but need culture. And I think what this is kind of old guard that we're focused on keeping the city together and keeping the old ways going, have been kind of pushed aside, and a new, more militant order is coming forward, and they're less interested in going out and learning about the world and just taking the power and knowledge that they do have and pushing it in to work.
That makes sense. I like that it falls in with the fiction. And what about you, Leandro? Trial or fortune first?
I think I'll go with fortune first. Yeah, quick question.
Yeah.
Having one of those needs, I can't can I take another fortune that will give me the same need? Or what happens if I take?
Yes, you just need to revise the need into something else. So, for example, if you took the one that would give you need morale and you already have morale, you could take need idle or something like that. Prestige, yeah, you can transform that.
Yeah, okay. Originally I was gonna do windfall, but no, I don't think the wave earned that part yet. A series of messy public disagreements caused many family members to leave, but it was all according to plan. From their new homes, your exiles send you regular reports on their host activities, gain +1 slate and surplus spies, but take need recruits. I already have that as a need, so I'll think of another one.
Okay, absolutely. And then Alan, what do you want for your second fortune?
Yeah, I think that I think we will build a place of safety and commerce. I think that the holy city begins to develop around the sanctuary. So as more and more people join the faith, it becomes a trading center, etc. So builds a place of safety, creating a new haven in this land, gain +1 reach and surplus peace, but take need obligation.
Okay. And then back to the river folk.
Sorry, that's my mute button again. Yes, I think yeah, I'm going to go for there's a couple of tempting. No, I think it's going to be yeah, I think we're going to go through the a golden age, questioning old philosophies and forging new paths to gain a new family move, but gain a need in leadership.
Ooh. Do you know what family move you want?
Yes, I think I'm going to go for where is it? Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Startide Rising, which allows me to work rituals to let people operate underwater, essentially.
Okay.
As I think we've kind of developed some mix of mystical and technological means of coping better underwater, and have the ability to lend those to others as well.
Nice. I like that. Then we come back to the seeds.
We're going to war, whether for justice or spoils, gain +1 grass and surplus weaponry. But someone out there holds a grudge. I think everybody knows what we're doing here. And take advantage.
Is it the Warren then that you want to have disadvantage on?
Well, see, yeah.
You can do that.
I don't know. It seems like I have disadvantage already, so I want to try to roll against them. So, yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. So you both have built up arms. You've built up your grasp. You get more weaponry, but that Cold War is turning hot. And then Leandro for the wave.
Yeah. Oh, I should mention the need I took was scavengers.
Oh, okay.
Because I think we've spent a bit of energy doing Game of Thrones politics. We should probably focus on taking care of our own needs.
Practicalities. Yep.
Yeah. And I think I wasn't sure. And again, a lot can happen in a decade. So I think, I'm torn between two options. Both the top and the bottom of the trials. either they suffered persecution and violence, but pushed into adapt to grow, or we got scattered.
Probably you got some fun family moves too.
Yeah, they all kind of. the interesting is all those family moves kind of push Soft away from who she initially started being. Which is what I get for starting with a firebrand in the stranded starfarers. I think the suffered persecution and violence makes more sense. They wouldn't be scattered by anything right now. They're rebuilding, so they get a new family move, but they do get the need revenge, which is fun.
Next time we'll take a look at those. We'll talk about how that's going to affect the maps. We'll do the rest of the walkthrough on family changes and also any character book changes. Now, next session is Alan's last session. We will have another player that's on the list. I'm going to contact them next week and see if I can at least put in some seeds to get them set to come in for sessions 7 and 8. So hopefully we'll get that worked out. And we'll do Stars and Wishes at the end of next session. Anything else we should go over?
I would just like to point out that if I'm right, we've just entered the third age and there is a dark kingdom to the east.
There is.
They seem really nice. I don't know what you're talking about.
They were polite. They let everybody in. It was all good. All right, thank you all so much. This game continues to deliver. I want to say, I am so sorry for the war in Rye.
What are you gonna do, man? They just every time.
You'll definitely have to do an operation against them, and we'll see if we can put that threat to rest.
Yeah, or something will be put to rest.
Yeah.
One last mechanical thing. I think that both I and the seeds, we get another move from the anarchist cookbook, don't we? Because wasn't there something I'm remembering back to
that was a wonder, right?
From the wonder.
Yeah, riots. The owner, and if I still hold a cathedral or something like that.
Yeah.
Your character and the owner start the next stage with is that just one off?
It's just a one-off. There are some that appear, but that's just a one-off.
Yeah, it is. Every new age, when you still control the cathedral, spend 2 treaty on any family or faction except the owner to share 1 reach with the owner until the age turns again. Mm-hmm. Right. I'll think about that.
We'll figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that gives both you and them +1. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your week. And I'm going to stop the stream.